Mr. Pradip Burman, who's the chairman of Mobius Foundation, a foundation that is working towards sustainability. I welcome all of our panelists today. Thank you so much for joining our discussion today. Mr. Burman, let me begin with you. You're a sworn environmentalist and a crusader of sustainability. What are the biggest sustainability challenges we are facing today, and how are they linked to overpopulation?
If I was to pick two out of the many challenges that we are facing, one is climate change and the other is the air pollution. The reason that we look at air pollution is because our children are suffering. They are suffering from asthma, lung ailments, etc. So that is immediately apparent. But there are others which are behind, which are the cause of this is the climate change. So all of them will be apparent in no time. It is linked to population because the greater amount of population means greater amount of gases, and that is leading to climate change. And then this is a step down effect which carries on and on. And this is the trouble of overpopulation.
Right. I'm glad that the government has come up with programs which are much needed. Mr. Burman, let me take my next question from you. The world appears to be divided on the issue of climate change. While some believe that the effects will be sudden and cataclysmic, skeptics simply scoff at it. They think it is fear-mongering. What would you say to the non-believers?
Now more and more people, 90% of all the scientists believe in climate change, and therefore I don't think we need to really worry about the 10% which is skeptical about the climate change. I think it is more important the governments of all countries take a strong stand on climate change and do something.
Absolutely. An urgent effort is needed as far as the global community is concerned, which has been very rightly pointed out by you. Right. Mr. Burman, would you like to react to what we just heard right now?
Well, I think it has been rightly pointed out about the lifestyle and link to the population. If we have a lifestyle like the United States, then our population cannot take it. However, when we look at the total population, that means that we cannot improve our lifestyle without affecting the planet. And therefore, we link immediately that the population itself should be limited. We have already done something in Kerala that it is being limited. But population problem is a much longer term problem and a longer term solution. So nothing can be done before 100 years. So within 60 years only you can control some population, and within 100 years you'll be able to control. So it's a much longer solution, and we ought to look at the longer term aspect of the whole thing.
It is indeed a long-term solution. Of course, we'll have to work at it. Having said that, Mr. Burman, the buzzword these days is clean energy, green energy. But if the world's population is not stabilized, can clean energy or green energy alone be effective?
Well, I would say partly yes. Clean energy, once we do it, it will have a great effect on global warming and climate change. And I can tell you that a country like Germany, which is already having 70% of its energy is from renewable sources. And that's what we should be working on as a first step towards affecting climate change.
Right. Let's also talk about the Earth's biodiversity. Now, Mr. Burman, if I may take this question from you, in a layperson's language, could you explain the impact of rapid human population growth on the Earth's biodiversity? Why is it alarming?
The first reason I would say is the space which is being taken up by human beings is causing 1 million species a year to die out. Now, what does that mean? One species can die out. But it upsets the ecological balance. And when the ecological balance is upset, then there are a whole lot of things which we cannot predict that will happen. When species die out, then other species take over. And then the human species is generating so much waste. How do we take care of the waste? So there are a whole lot of other issues which come with the population increase and the biodiversity being lost. We don't realize it right away, but over a period of time, the biodiversity causes much more problems than we envisaged earlier.
Mr. Burman, now when it was adopted in 2015, the Paris Agreement represented hope, a triumph in diplomacy. How successful would you say this has been?
I would say it's partly been successful, but it's a very good direction which the Paris Agreement took. With the US pulling out, it appeared that it's going to fail. But now with the new government in the US, it is back on track. But what I want to emphasize is that urgency on the Paris Agreement and the parameters which it set out that we should maintain is not being shown. The urgency to be shown and to actually achieve it. What scientists have shown is that we are actually behind our targets, what we should achieve now. And if we don't increase the targets, then we'll not be able to achieve the targets in 2030 as was proposed. So it is necessary for people like Greta Thunberg to bring this to our attention at the World Economic Forum meets, that we are not doing enough for the next generation to survive.
Let me have a quick closing thoughts from all three of you. Mr. Burman, your thoughts.
Yeah, I think certainly we can do this, and I'd like to emphasize what are some of the steps that we should take. Our Mobius Foundation is already on that. Education is the key, and creating climate warriors is the key to averting a disaster on climate change. So education, I'm creating a World Environment School which will create these warriors. Education is also the key for population. As you can see that Kerala population is no longer increasing because all of them are fully educated, and therefore we can certainly avert this disaster by education. Is a good start.